All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unicorn Connector Show. I am thrilled for today because we have Rob Wellman, founder of Social 5, with us today. Rob is not only a successful entrepreneur, but also a skilled connector who has built countless relationships that have led to incredible opportunities. Today, we'll be discussing how businesses can leverage the power of social media to drive growth and how connectors can benefit by joining Social 5's affiliate program and earn extra income. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the conversation. Please welcome Rob Wellman. Rob, welcome to the show. Please say hello and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Great to be here. Rob Wellman, founder of Social 5 here. I'm glad to join you today.
Yeah, awesome. So, Rob, I really appreciate you being here. And before we get started, I just wanted to ask everybody who's watching, and Misty's already on it, to let us know where you're from. And feel free to put a unicorn emoji in the chat because we love our unicorns. And yeah, I'm excited for today's show. We've got tons of value to provide, and Rob is here to dig into that. So, let's get to it. So, Rob, first and foremost, I am curious to know, as the founder of Social 5 and a successful connector, can you tell us about your experience and how being a connector has helped you in your business and personal life?
Well, certainly having meaningful relationships is very impactful to all of our lives. And so yeah, I think that's one thing that's really enriched my journey as an entrepreneur is to have connected with other great entrepreneurs. You know, it can be a lonely life as an entrepreneur, and to be able to share some of those ups and downs with others that have been there before just enriches the whole process. And certainly you recognize it's a bigger world. Sometimes we get very myopic in what we're doing. And so staying connected with other great entrepreneurs and leaders is made a huge difference intrinsically for me in my journey.
Awesome. So, can you tell me a little bit about why it's so important to either be a connector or focus on building connections and relationships with people as it relates to having a business and running a business?
Well, any successful business has partnerships. Um, High growth companies certainly have partnerships. And partnerships means a lot of different things, right? There could be partnerships that provide mutually beneficial referrals to each other. So that can enrich a business dramatically. But really personally, so many people get caught up in their own day to day. But when you get out of that and you start interacting with other entrepreneurs, it broadens your perspective and you get new insights. And so anybody that is not connecting and associating and have trusted alliances, both personally and professionally, are missing a significant opportunity to grow their business and enrich their personal life.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell me about a little more about that? How you've developed some of the alliances within Social 5 and how that's impacted Social 5's business?
Well, let me take you back, Daniel. I've had four very successful businesses that I've exited. The first business went from about $1 million in revenue to 70 million in revenue in 4 years, and I sold it to Legato Corporation. The next business went from $1 million to 250 million in 5 years. We did 4 or 5 acquisitions along the way, and then exited after a public offering in 2002 to Semantic Corporation. And then prior to Social 5, I exited a business to HP. And the reason I just mentioned that is all of them, the reason they went through rapid growth is we had partnerships. We were able to leverage other successful businesses in a mutually beneficial way for success. And so I really believe in collaboration. I believe in co-opetition. It's okay to work with your competitors. And so smart entrepreneurs and high growth companies absolutely have a partnering strategy or a leverage strategy for higher acceleration. And so it's just part of the way I've built businesses is through partnerships. And that translates into my personal relationship. I have very trusted CEO relationships with other CEOs, that we talk very openly and frank, and we're not trying to take anything from each other, but we just have these very open, candid conversations. When we have problems, there's people that we can rely on. And so I think partnerships and collaboration is what makes businesses accelerate. And if you're a business that's stagnant or struggling, opening that up to partnerships that are mutually beneficial will change everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love you mentioned so many things that we really focus on at Unicorn Universe: collaboration, cooperation, leveraging relationships to establish partnerships, leveraging each other's networks. So many things that, yeah, I mean, you're just nailing it on the head. You clearly know what you're doing. So I think that's great. And being connectors, it's important for us to identify those opportunities, right? I'm curious what you look for in a partnership to know it's going to be a successful partnership.
Well, let me give you one example of a partnership that I built, in a prior business. But I think what you said is accurate, Daniel. We need to chart out that partnership ecosystem, what that looks like. And often businesses are selling to the same client. And so if you can develop a relationship where you're both selling to the same client, but together you're stronger, then you'll get acceleration. I'll give you one example. This business that I was involved with, it was a technology company based out of Linden, Utah. And we were new. We had about $1 million in revenue, but our technology really helped servers and desktop devices. And so we looked at our ecosystem and said, well, who would be a natural partner? Well, there was Dell, there was Compaq, there was HP, there was IBM, Fujitsu, Siemens over in Europe. And as we looked at that landscape, we thought, if we could develop a partnership with Compaq, we could be beneficial to them and they could open our possibilities. And so we took a piece of our technology and we embedded it on every Compaq desktop and every Compaq server. And that gave greater value to their device. But what it did to us is our salespeople then could connect with a Compaq salesperson to their customers and say, hey, this technology is already loaded on our device. If you want to maximize it, there's other pieces of this technology that you could consider. So imagine a company that's $1 million in revenue is now able to harness the entire Compaq sales organization. That's why we were able to go from $1 million to $250 million in a 5-year period of time. And as we successfully did that with Compaq, then we added Dell. Then we added IBM. Then we added Fujitsu, Siemens, and other desktop and server technologies to where we became the de facto standard. And it's why we were able to go public and have a massive exit. Actually, we went public in 2002 and then sold the business just under $1 billion to Semantic Corporation after the IPO. So there's a practical example where our technology helped desktop computers and servers, and we said, well, who delivers those? And we developed a win-win partnership that accelerated both businesses. Every business could look at their ecosystem and say, who else is selling to our customers that has adjacent or similar type of technology? And if you can pull that together, 1 + 1 always equals 3 or more. And so that's a practical example. Daniel, I hope that's helpful to the group.
100%. And it's interesting, and I love this topic because it's something we talk about all the time. And actually, we have this question that we ask everybody that comes on the show: who is your golden connection? We ask everybody that question, and a lot of the time, people will say their answer will be something about their best client or something like that. When we really like to focus on who could be a strategic alliance for your business to drive that massive growth, right? It could be somebody that saves time. It could be somebody that helps you cross promote, collaborate and share business, all those things that you just mentioned. So I absolutely love this topic. Now, I'm curious, so that area of business, creating strategic alliances and leveraging each other's services and products to grow in that way, is clearly a very beneficial way for businesses to grow their business, right? As you just explained. But how does leveraging social media tie into creating strategic alliances, and why is it important to do both of those things?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, look, customers can be good connectors or referrals to other businesses, but when you can align yourself strategically with other technologies or services, there's acceleration. It just is. And it's one of the reasons that I really liked social media. You know, we started Social 5 about 10 years ago, and um, there are disruptive movements in the world that change everything. And I had never seen anything quite like Social 5 when it first started. You know, as you look back, it's changed politics, it's changed religion, it's changed nonprofits, it's changed the way we travel. It's changed everything, right? So social media is very disruptive, and one of the examples of this is the big businesses are able to use the medium of the day. So, for example, Nike built their brand on television with the Just Do It Michael Jordan commercials. And they would spend about $4 million on a Super Bowl commercial to reach, for, X amount of millions of people. But those are the type of businesses that quickly pivot to the new frontier, right? And today, interestingly, Nike does not do any television advertising. They completely pivoted about 7 years ago. They do no more television advertising, and they're on social media. And they've openly stated we're never going to spend $4 million to reach 40 million viewers in a 30-second Super Bowl commercial, because we do it every day online. So my point in saying this, Daniel, is that the small business or the medium-sized business can leverage social media just like they would leverage a strategic relationship or a partnership in a way that's never been possible before. Small businesses can't afford television. They can't afford a billboard. Newspapers dead. So the frontier for them is digital. It's social. And it's measurable, it's cost effective, and the ones that leverage that get exponential reach. And I'll just give you one practical example. For $200 carefully placed with a social media network, you can reach 10,000 people a month in a defined target audience. I want this age, this geography, this social economic status. I want this psychographic, and it's measurable. Unlike a billboard, you just hope people see your marketing, but in social media, it's measurable. So my point is, when you have disruptive movements like social media, small entrepreneurs or mid-sized entrepreneurs can now look like the big boys for a budget that they can afford. And so that's what I really loved about social media. I saw it changing everything. And we believe that if we could help small businesses harness its power at a price point that was affordable, it would be absolutely disruptive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it really just changes everything because you're targeting the right people with every dollar you spend versus, I mean, a billboard, you're hoping that the right person looks up and sees it at the right time and then takes action on it, right? So I think that's
Yeah, and here's another stat. 14% of people trust advertisers, where 90% of people trust social media.
wow.
So social media really is getting your customers to talk about you instead of you talking about you. It's leverage, it's partnership, it's leveraging that scenario. And social media done right will absolutely transform a business.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I love that you brought up Nike specifically, because I just recently gave a speech where collaboration between Nike and Adidas, talk about cooperation. They created a partnership to actually clean up plastic bottles from the ocean to make sustainable footwear. And that's just a great example of how partnerships can really not only help businesses grow, but create a positive impact. But I just wanted
And
to
by the way,
say,
Danny, you make a really good point there. The new generation of young people really care about causes, right? And so if you can incorporate a cause in your social media campaign, it makes all the difference. In fact, the studies are very interesting. We used to go to a website to gain information, but today people first go to social channels because they want to see the personality, they want to see the cause, they want to see what they're about. And a website is simply an online brochure. It's not what it used to be. They're really investigating your personality, your cause, what makes you tick before they want to do business with you. And so, again, social media done right changes everything. And you know, if you want to use the marketing strategies of the past, you might get the baby boomers. But if you want Gen Y and Gen Z and the upcoming community that grew up with a phone in their hand, you got to approach it differently.
yeah, absolutely. So I love this comment from Misty, and I think it's a great way to kind of dig into this topic of social media and how it can also create a cohesive approach when, again, being done right. So Misty said, I would love for my social media platforms to all flow in the same direction instead of being a combination of anything I've ever done, and I would love some consistency. So, why do you think it is that people who have a business, maybe some of their different channels are not so consistent? Why do you think that happens?
Yeah, it's a good question. Let me back up and give this philosophical explanation that's really important for social media. A lot of times, when a new environment turns on, like Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, we think, "Ah, great! It's an opportunity just to talk about myself." And I noticed recently that Sprint won an award for the worst execution of social media. And the reason for that is all they did is post pictures of their phones. Here's my new phone, and here's the new this, and here's the new this. And it really is what we call, well, in the restaurant industry, when people just post images about their food, we call it food porn, right? It's just showing your food over and over again. And so here's what happens. When people have a social media channel, think, oh, great, I get to talk about myself and somebody's going to pay attention. But think about that for a minute. If you walk into a room and you're meeting new people for the first time, you're in a networking environment, if you talk about yourself, people will be interested for the first couple of minutes. And then they're like, that's enough, right? That's enough of you. And unfortunately, we take that same approach to social media. We just say, I'm going to talk about me, and people are going to want to hear about me. And we talk about me, 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 me. And I'm not saying that that's what Misty has done in her social channels, but it is what we see a lot, is they just talk about their product or service. That's not social media well executed. In social media, you have to appeal to a large audience. You have to be authentic. If you have a sports team, for example, right now, if you want to connect to a broader audience in the social media world, you ought to include the NBA finals or the NBA playoffs. That's what people are talking about, or the Olympics, or the great skiing in your area, or the great beaches that belong in your community. You have to talk to a broader audience, and then you have to be educational. You have to talk about things in your industry that are informative and helpful. And then at the end of the funnel, you can talk about buy my service or check out my product. But most people just talk about look at my product, look at my service, and they don't have a strategy of broad educational, and then call to action. And so that's the problem with most social media campaigns, is they're just um, cobbled together without a strategy. And you can't do that. Every channel has a different approach. A blog has a different strategy than Facebook. LinkedIn is certainly more important to a B2B business than a B2C business. So you have to have a holistic strategy in the way you go about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. Very incredible information. So, you talked a bit about some of the things that social media that people do wrong, businesses do wrong on social media. Tell me about what people are doing right. And specifically, one of the companies that comes to mind when you talk about not talking about me, but more about focusing on the person on the other end is Apple. They seem to have done a great job at, you know, showing an experience and highlighting what people are going to get out of it, right? And how it's going to change their life, right? I mean, it's a phone, right? Or they started with the iPod and there was a person dancing, right? So I'm curious, from your perspective, what would you say that Apple specifically, or maybe another example if you want, what would you say that they've done right that has really influenced how social media should be done?
Well, earlier in the chat, I think Misty put up being authentic, and that is critical. People want to see your personality, they want to see what you're about, they want to be educated, they don't want to be sold, right? So, social media has to have consistent, authentic, valuable information. So, that's part of it. Is, you think of maybe a dentist. There's so many things that are happening in the world of dentistry that can be educational, about teeth whitening or new procedures or why you don't want silver in your teeth. So it's educational, it's informative. And then really, you let the personality of the business come through, and then they want to do business with you. But if you come on and say, buy from me, it's just a sales pitch, and people don't want that in social media, especially the young connected generation. They want to see what you're about, they want to see who you're giving back to, who your partnerships are, what your causes are. And so involving your cause in your social media strategy makes a significant difference. Anytime you can tie a cause to your business, or and there's so many great causes out there, right?
Hmm.
We helped a business recently that really cared about child trafficking, and they wanted a large majority of their social media to be educational about some of the horrific things that are happening in child trafficking. And the impact of that was so significant on the way they wanted to do more business, right? Um, we worked with a automobile car repair organization, and they focused on safe driving and not texting while you're driving, and some of the problems with teen driving. And it was all about how to be more responsible in the way we drive. It wasn't about I fix cars or I repair cars. It's how do we make the world safer in the way we drive? And that the campaign for that is, so think of all the things that you can include in that. So anytime you can come up with a cause that you care about, whatever it is, whether it's disease prevention, children, um, safe driving, coming up with a cause and incorporating that into your business will make all the difference in elevating the communication to a level that people care about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to go back to, this is a perfect segue into this other question that we got from a company that we're involved with, Pre.World. They said they're basically we are probably the best use case and need for massive marketing. So they're a cause and SaaS startup for AR, AI, and VR. What
Mhm.
would you say is the fastest way that they can set up a good SMN engine?
Okay, really good question. So let me just give you a little bit of social media education here. Um, you need to be on the key social media channels: Facebook, LinkedIn, specifically if you're a B2B business, right? So if you're a SaaS B2B business, you got to do a lot more LinkedIn. Twitter is an important social media platform. Um, but I would remind you that email is still the most pervasive social media platform today. So having an email strategy and a blog strategy are important. And if you tie all those together, you can send out a monthly email to all your current clients or potential clients with a link to your blog article that's educational about your cause. That's so powerful because email is a push strategy, right? So combining those together, and then just remember that on social media, it's a pay-to-play game. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of these, Instagram, you get a greater reach if you pay to play. If you boost content, it's very inexpensive, but you get a greater reach. If you do social advertising through their platform, you get a greater reach. So when you turn on these social channels, you need to have a pay element where you pay these guys to get greater reach. And remember, what they know about us is creepy. They know everything about us, right? Our age, our interests. So you can dial that in a social media strategy that's very, very important. But you also have to have need to pay attention to the SEO world, and that game's changed. But having connectors that are strong websites make all the difference. So these backlinks are very important to credibility. Just like a business needs to have partnerships for credibility and growth, a website needs to have partnerships for credibility and growth. And then being listed in the online directories today, it used to be that we put a business in the yellow pages and we were good, right? That's how people found us. Well, there's hundreds of online directories, and there's efficient ways to be listed accurately in the online directory. If I'm a restaurant and someone says I'm hungry on Siri and I'm not listed in Siri, I'm not going to be found. So that's just one example. But as a business, we need to be accurately listed in the online directory. So that gives you kind of an overall strategy. You got to be part of the social channels. You got to have a good online reputation. And I'm telling you that your reviews make more difference today than ever. Again, that's connectors, that's showing credibility. Someone's used this. And so having consistent online reviews will do more for your SEO and the credibility of your business than maybe anything. And some people get really focused on getting referrals and then they go silent for 9 months. That's not how it works. You have to have a consistent strategy for getting online referrals. So that gives you kind of a broad perspective of some of the things that are necessary in today's digital world.
Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. And I know that Social 5 has a program where you will actually help businesses increase their reviews and generate consistent reviews, right? And we've got Slay Driver Realtor here who says you be you. They'll go to your personal page to confirm you are not being fake. Reviews are like the number one thing that people look at for that. I mean, anytime I'm going to buy something from just about anywhere, Amazon, a restaurant. I mean, I took my dog to the vet, and the first and pretty much the only thing I looked at were the reviews. If it was less than 4 stars, I'm not taking my dog there. Like, what? And so, like, unless I really had to, right? And so those reviews are so important. Can you tell me about how Social 5 actually helps businesses get consistent reviews? I'd love to know a little bit more about those mechanics.
Yeah, you're right, Daniel. Having reviews is essential, and the number one place to have reviews is on Google. But there are reviews on Facebook and on Twitter and so many other platforms. But look, good businesses can get reviews if they build it into their process. Fortunately, Social 5 has made that really easy with technology, right? And so we have some technology that can help solicit the reviews from happy customers, take those reviews and place them in the important environments, Google being the number one, but also imagine what it's like to have your reviews peppered into your social media campaign or into your blog articles. Here's what one of our customers says. So that's one of the mistakes people make is they get reviews, place it on Google. Think of all the other places that those reviews can go. And so one of the things Social Vibe does is we harvest those reviews. We not only get them placed in the right social environments, but we include them in the content strategy that we provide for our customers. And I'll just give a little bit of a plug here for businesses. One of the things that Social Vibe does that I think is very unique is we have a research team that puts together a comprehensive social and online review. So before we will ever do business with someone, we look under the hood. We look at their social environment, we look at their reviews, we look at their online reputation, we look at their blog, we look at the way their strategy, we look at everything. And we put together a comprehensive report so that we know, can we really help you? And where is the low-hanging fruit and what should the strategy be? And we'll do that for free for any business. And we often say, we're not a good fit for you. You're doing this well and you don't need us. And so I guess what I'm just saying here, Daniel, is any of your clients or anybody here that if they want to really understand what they're doing well, let us do that review for them. No strings attached. If nothing else, you'll get to see how a professional organization looks at you. And then we can give you recommendations on things you could do yourself or things that we could help you do at a really efficient price.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I wanted to kind of jump back to this comment from Sleigh Driver Realtor. Mentioned that they've had excellent success without paying to boost. A lot of those things you just mentioned sound like they'd be great pieces to leverage to generate additional success without necessarily paying to boost posts, right? Sharing the reviews you've got, repurposing those reviews as content on social media, getting reviews is its own form of organic, reach and generating success. So I just wanted to kind of just circle back to that. But I also want
to. You don't have to boost. If you have a good strategy, it's going to work well. But remember, by paying a little, when I'm talking boost, you might put in $50 a month. The amplification that you will get is really remarkable. Facebook will reward you, or other channels will reward you for boosting. You do not have to boost to have a successful challenge. But if you choose to do that, the amplification is always worth the return from our perspective.
Yeah, and what you do with it too, right? One of the best ways in some of my previous businesses that I've built my social media communities is when people like those posts that you boost, you can invite them to like your page, right? And that's a great way to increase your followers and build a more tailored community of people that are engaging with your stuff. And so I think there are so many different ways to do that and why it's beneficial to boost, just kind of personally. I'm curious.
That's a really important point too. When you're doing reviews, and when people leave reviews on your social media, you have to interact with them. A lot of people will get interaction on their social channels and then they don't communicate. That is so valuable. And that is one of the services that Social Vibe does, not only get the reviews, but we interact with people that are on your social channels. And so sometimes outsourcing that to a partner can allow you to be more efficient, but you've got to engage when people communicate on your social channels.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to jump back. I actually didn't highlight this comment earlier because I figured there'd be a good time to jump to it. And Brian Muka, he says, the whole country is starving for community. So how can social media be the feel of a great party meets show and tell?
Yeah, I love that, Brian. And, social media done right is an echo chamber. you got email bouncing off your blog, bouncing off your Facebook, bouncing off Twitter. It's all just bouncing in this echo chamber together. And when you have a cause that people care about, it really does engage the community. We are starving for good things to care about. And when you incorporate that in your social media campaign, it becomes viral. It becomes bigger than you could possibly be. And that's how you get leverage. So well said, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so the comments are really dictating this whole conversation. I love it. I love the engagement. So thank you all for participating. One of the questions that has come up a couple of times now, Rob, is about your why, Social Five's why, your personal why, what your vision is. Can you tell us a bit about why you started Social Five and why it's so important to you to have this business continue to grow and impact the world in the ways that you're talking about?
Yeah, I have a deep respect for entrepreneurs. It's not easy, and it is the heartbeat of our great country. 80% of businesses in America have less than 9 employees, and that's the heartbeat of America. It's what employs people. It's where the growth sectors come. So think about a business with less than 9 employees. They don't do their own accounting, or shouldn't. If they're doing their own accounting, it's hard to run their business. They don't do their own HR, or shouldn't. They don't do their own IT, or shouldn't. And they certainly don't have the expertise to do a social media strategy, unless you want to get one of your kids that knows Snapchat and turn over your business to them, which we don't recommend, because social media can be a weapon of mass destruction in the wrong hands. So when I look at kind of the stage of life where I've been, having had some successful exits and businesses and watching entrepreneurs struggle, we get unbelievable intrinsic reward out of helping small businesses harness the power of social media, which was really built for them. Social media is the first medium that's measurable and cost effective for small businesses. And so that drives us, helping entrepreneurs harness the power of social media. And when we can tie in causes to that campaign, we know we're making a difference in humanity, whether it's bringing attention to disease that we're trying to find cures for, to horrific challenges that we face globally with children, or starvation, or whatever it is. When we can help a small business tie in a cause, help their business succeed, and bring cause awareness, we believe we're doing something bigger than business. And we're doing it on a scale that's pretty cool, because we're in 9 countries. We have thousands of clients in multiple languages, and we think that we can have well over 100,000 clients in the next few years. And when you start tying in causes to those type of businesses, the social impact is moving for our employees as we watch those things happen. And so that drives us. And small businesses cannot do themselves what we can do for them. They don't have our sophistication. They don't have our technology. Look, I have armies of writers. I open a position for a writer and I'll have 500 applicants within 3 hours. And these people have written for USA Today, the Wall Street Journal. They're the best at their particular beat. The talent that I have, a small business could never hire. And so I can give a small business an army of people at a time slice and then leverage technology. It's fun. It's exciting, right? We have 80% of businesses that see what we do sign up for our service. And then, Daniel, when you add our referral partners, they're expanding the reach. We allow our referral partners just to introduce us to businesses, and we pay them as long as that customer stays on our service. And we've had customers for 10 years on our service. So when you add our partner community that's able to capture revenue and then help small businesses and causes, it's a fun journey that we're on.
That's amazing, Rob. And I love your enthusiasm here. It simply just shows how passionate you are about what you're doing. And I'm sure that's attributed to why Social 5 has been so successful. And I love the focus of small businesses because as we've been having this conversation, I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, this all sounds great, but it's so expensive to hire somebody to do all of this for me. One of the things that really stuck out to me was your pricing model because, and you talk about leverage, but when you leverage the different resources and the partnerships and everything that you just talked about, that's how we can really create a model that is affordable for everybody, right? And you have really created this in a way that makes it affordable for small businesses. I mean, I was blown away when I saw your prices. I'm like, what? This can't even be right. Like, and I had to ask Mike, and he was like, yeah, those are the right prices. So I'm curious, like, how do you keep your prices so affordable and 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 why do you have such great prices? Is it simply because you want to help those small businesses?
Well, I wouldn't say that everything's altruistic. We're a business and we have to make money, right? And
Absolutely.
so it's not that we're just trying to be a nonprofit and give everything away for free. We are a for-profit business. We're now a public company. Here's how we've been able to do it. Technology compresses the price, and it makes it very, very efficient. And then the other thing is that the writing industry is imploding. So the writers that we have will create this content at a fraction of the price that they would normally work for because they're trying to gain experience in the social media world. So those are kind of the two things: technology, the way we compress it together, our scale, and the number of employees that we have. We can just get really efficient. And I'll give you an example of that, Daniel. If we did everything for a business, we did all their SEO, we did their social advertising, we created all their content on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. We did their blogs. We did their monthly email. We did all of their online reviews and reputation. We tweak their website to make sure that when traffic's coming to the website, they're converting it. If we add all of those things together, a business is going to pay us less than $20,000 a year. Now, to put that in perspective, tell me who you can hire for $20,000 a year.
And do all of that? Nobody.
You could never do it, right? If you hire just someone to do your content, you'd be $50,000, $60,000, just one person. But I'm going to give you 6 or 7 people because I don't want to just write about your product and service. I want to write about your industry, and I want to write about your cause. And so I need multiple writers. So to outsource all of your digital marketing, everything, for less than $20,000, you could never hire someone to do it. That's why we win. But we always tell businesses when it comes to social media, you ought to crawl, walk, and then run. Start with something small. Don't start with all 20. Let's start with something. Let's watch the analytics. Let's measure it. Let's show the return on investment, and then you'll add more. It'll just be a no-brainer. And so to give you an example, if we did all of a company's social media content, we're writing 3 times a week on Facebook, 3 times a week on Twitter, 3 times a week on Instagram, 3 times a week on Twitter. We're doing all that, plus we're giving away a contest where they're giving away a trip to Cozumel snorkeling or big screen TV for the Final Four or something like that. All of those things, you'd spend less than $500 a month. And so that just gives you an example of the different places that we can insert with a small business. Because what we find is we'll get started in some place and then they'll add more. It's just very natural. And I think it's important for a small business to start where they can and make sure that it's measurable and it's showing the results before they add other things to it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Figure out what's working and then double down on those. And and then diversify as you know what strategies are working best, right?
Yeah. So, for example, a business, when we onboard them, we'll say, okay, tell us about your personality. And maybe it's a law firm. We're serious, and we do this. We're just very serious. We're lawyers, and we'll say, okay, we think we ought to have a little humor in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll start, and then we'll look at the analytics as we pepper in um, some humor, and we watch how that impacts it, so we can watch the analytics. By the way, I just love this question here by Michael, and if I could just answer it, it asks me, what are some of my causes and what do I care about? Um, I've been fortunate. My wife and I have our own foundation, and we've partnered with some organizations that we really like. I really like anytime we're impacting children. So I've partnered with an organization called Spark of Hope, and they build homes in 3 days in underdeveloped countries. It's one of my favorite things to do. I go at least once a year with my family to build these homes, and so I love that. Um, I also have some passion because of some of my children and some of the disabilities that we have in our family, with organizations that do equine therapy. And so I've partnered with an organization called Bridle Up Hope, and we do a lot to help them raise money. And then on the disease side, I've got some things in my family, and so I do a lot with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society to help raise money and to bring an end to blood cancer. It's one of the most treatable cancers. So those are a few things that I'm working on.
That's amazing. You just struck a nerve with me with that leukemia, lymphoma. I won't get into that, but that's amazing, Rob. I think it's so important to, you know, with everything we do in our lives and in business, to have important things that we stand for, that we want to positively impact and help and create, create value to the world that's more than just business and revenue. And so I love that you have a whole foundation, and I love that you're doing that. So thank you so much for sharing.
Hey, and by the way, one of the things that I've loved that I've seen happen in business over my tenure, and I've been in the business world 30 plus years now. And when I first started, it was all about the economic model and how to make money. When businesses are starting today, they're incorporating their cause. And that is so refreshing, because at some point, the money becomes a little bit hollow and it's not rewarding. But when you have a cause as part of your business, what that does for your employees, for your business, it's bigger than business. And businesses are way more successful. They make a whole lot more money that way. And so, I would tell anybody, if you don't have a cause as part of your business, if your only cause is to make money, it gets empty at some point. And my career from the very beginning to now is so much more rewarding because there's those causes built in. And the funny thing about that is I make more money. And it really wasn't the objective, right? But when there's a cause and people can get behind something bigger than you, it's powerful. So I would say to
Absolutely.
anybody that's an entrepreneur today, if you don't have a cause, if it's not something that you're doing that has a social impact, and it's just about money, it's going to get flat at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and Misty shared that if she had a social cause, it'd be centered around seniors living on disability, not having suitable housing or money to have what they need at the end of their life when they should be happy and comfortable. And I just, I love that. And I love what you're saying. I think that, you know, business owners, people that are doing their business, they shouldn't go at it and create a cause just because of, you just expressed how it's actually helped you make more money. if that is the purpose of your cause, it's not going to be effective, right? And
It
so,
won't. They'll see through it.
yeah, I mean,
It's not that intended. And by the way, I just got to make a comment on Mitzi. My father passed away 2 years ago, and my uncle, who I never met, came to the funeral, and I met him for the first time. He's 95. I was in Texas last week for his 95th birthday, and he doesn't have anybody. He's outlived everybody, and to see the environment that he's in, and he's laboring as a 95-year-old. It just it's broke my heart. And over the last couple of years, he's just become such a close, dear friend. And my wife and I are excited. We're moving him closer to where we live. We found a good place for him to reside, and just navigating life as a 95-year-old on your own is not right. And people take advantage of these older people. I couldn't believe it as I got my arms around his finances, and those that were dipping into his account and stealing money from him. And these elderly, Mitzi, I hope you incorporate that. They need good businesses that, man, I'm sorry, but that strikes a nerve. And they need businesses that can wrap around them. And there's ways to do that. And you don't have to go out and start a new charity. There are really good foundations today that are innovating for the elderly and for the children and for whatever the cause is. There's some really good ones. You don't have to go make up a new one and run a separate business. Find one to partner with, incorporate it in your business, and it'll make a huge difference in the way you wake up every day. And it certainly will make a big difference in your economic success if it's authentic. So sorry about
yeah,
that. I didn't mean to get emotional.
no apologies necessary. You know, one of the things I love about the unicorns and everything that we do is, for one, there's no judgment. It's judgment-free zone. Everybody here is passionate about lifting each other up and supporting each other. So there's never any apology necessary. We have our Friday calls and tears happen, and I think it's, as Brian said, they're strong and it's courageous, and we're all here to support each other. And that's one of the reasons why I love doing this show. I love being myself a unicorn connector, which are people that connect people who we identify as unicorns. We have a whole unicorn DNA that really just explains exactly what that means. And so I love it. I appreciate it, in fact. And it's about, Michael Gray shares, it's about helping the helpers, right? And being there to lift each other up who have an important cause. And I got to say to Misty, she does have a cause. I know a lot about what she does, and everything she does to, support other brands, support other companies, and create products that help people in one way or another. Misty, they're all related to your cause of being centered around seniors and supporting people who are in need at the end of, or to prepare for the end of their life. So just because we don't have it like formalized and we haven't dedicated a percentage of our business or whatever to a specific cause doesn't mean that we're not helping these causes. So I love that. And I wanted to mention, we haven't really talked much about the Social 5 affiliate program, but as far as helping the helpers are concerned, a lot of social impact companies, nonprofit organizations, companies that are really focused on their cause tend to be taken advantage of, or they have a hard time finding ways to get their name out there, to get their mission out there, their cause, and whatever that might be. And so I just encourage anybody who is connected with those people to engage with Social 5, engage with Rob and Mike, who we've been working with, to be an affiliate of Social 5. Connect those people with Social 5 because their model is just amazing, and they will help those helpers. They will help businesses with an important cause get their message out there. And so I just think that's so important. And, you know, if that's the only thing we talk about as far as being an affiliate, that's great to me, because I think that that's what it's all about. I want to help the helpers. That's who we want to help at Unicorn Universe. So,
Yeah,
say,
and we really share that passion. Come on, if anybody here, look, one of the successful principles of business is partnering and leveraging, and so we have a really cool partner program, and it's very simple. You have to make it easy for your partners, right? We don't expect them to learn our products and be experts at digital marketing and social. We simply say, introduce us. All you got to do is introduce us. And if you, and with that credible introduction, we will pay you 15% forever of that client. And all you have to do is introduce us. And we close 70 to 80% of anybody that we talk to, which is an unheard of close ratio. So imagine this: if you find a business that's trying to figure out how to grow, and they want to leverage digital marketing, nobody can do it more efficient and more affordable and more measurable than we can. They just can't. We're the leader. But if we can take that business and say to them, what's your cause? Who do you want to partner with? And we can pull that together in the strategy, it is transformative in so many ways. And so come join us. Just introduce us to businesses. We'll help them figure out what their cause, and we'll accelerate it, and you can get paid along the way. And if you know a business, or if you want us to look under the hood of what you do, let our research team do an analysis of what you're doing well and what you're not doing well. If that's all you got out of it, it would be very valuable. But come join us. Connecting small businesses with causes accelerates the cause, it accelerates the business, everybody wins, and it's really a fun environment. So come be a partner if it makes sense and it's natural. I had one guy join us he's a technology sales guy, and within 3 months he was making more money from Social 5 than he was from his sales job in the technology. And I said, well, when are you going to quit and just work with us? He goes, I'm not going to do that. He said, you know how many small businesses I meet every day? And to be able to bring my technology to them and say, hey, have you considered social media? It's so natural. And that's the kind of partnerships that we want, is natural. When you have partnerships that are two porcupines trying to mate, it's not successful. It's got to be natural. And so if any of this sparks interest and you think we can help you as a business or as a partner in our ecosystem, boy, would be honored and grateful to work with you.
That's amazing, Rob. Well, I have loved this conversation, and I know we're getting toward the end of the hour. I want to give you the opportunity to share anything that you want to leave people with, and yeah, just give you that chance before we wrap up here. And is there anything specific you wanted to mention?
I just will say this again. I think most successful entrepreneurs will say they were in the right place at the right time and had a lot of luck. And I certainly feel that way. I was so grateful for businesses that were growing quickly that gave me an opportunity to do things I wasn't prepared to do. And it accelerated my career. I look back and think, how in the world was I a CEO of high technology companies in my 30s? And I'm grateful for entrepreneurs that made things possible for me. And one of the things that I've just really learned along the way is that when there is something bigger than business, it makes the journey beautiful. And so I'm just deeply grateful for this conversation. And I just would say, I know that when a business has a purpose bigger than making money, it has such a different culture for employees. They don't have retention problems of employees. They don't have people leaving. And when you get in a tight economic situation where labor is challenging, you're not losing people. And I just would reiterate, come up with a cause, connect it to your business in a natural way, leverage social media to expose it, and your individual intrinsic reward from your day-to-day work will change. And I wish I'd have known that in my early 20 or late 20s and early 30s. And it's made all the difference. And to the point that you don't want to quit working. Everybody else is dying to get to retirement. Can't wait to get out of it. Man, when you get a cause, it's not work anymore. And the economic model actually gets better, but it has to be authentic. If you approach it that, oh, this will make me more money, I'm going to twist this in here. I'm telling you, people smell it and they can taste it, and you can't hide what your real agenda is. So if you can come up with something you really care about and incorporate in your business, it'll make all the difference. So I'll just harp on what we've already talked about, Daniel. And it's fun to see business evolving that way and starting with cause as part of their strategy. It's really fun to see it happening.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Rob. And I really appreciate everything that you've shared. Tons of value, tons of passion. And for everybody watching, thank you as well. If you would like to connect with Rob and Social 5, go to social5.unicornuniverse.io, where we've streamlined the connection process for you and for Social 5 and connectors and everybody who is interested in learning more and how you can create a positive impact, get your name out there, your mission out there, and your purpose to help more people. So, Rob, thank you again for being here. I can't thank you enough and really appreciate it. And we'll leave it at that. So everybody have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks, Daniel.